Thanks, everybody. Welcome back to Gearhead Daily, and I'm with Shane Donahue today. Beard, mustache on point as usual, and he's got the better setup than I do because you've got the green screen going. I've got an overhead light that I need to work on a little bit, so you've got more experience with this than I do. Appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on. And what's funny is I heard about you before I actually met you.
Okay, now this is okay. Go on.
Yeah, so here's the story. Here's how the story goes. Okay, so you and I are you have since moved, but you and I were part of the same MAC events. Minneapolis Auto Club, I think, is what it stands for.
Minnesota Auto Sports Club.
Thank you, Minnesota Auto Sports Club. I don't know my acronyms very well, and so it's an autocross group that does various autocross events, and we have a really good time with it.
Yep.
And when I was signing up for jobs, I don't want to shag cones anymore. I was sick of that stuff, and I didn't want to, I didn't want to do a little timer thing, and I didn't want to, tell people when to go because I thought that was kind of boring. But what I noticed is nobody signed up for announcer.
Yeah.
And nobody ever does. And so I grab a mic. I thought, what the heck? I love hearing my own voice. So what the hell? I'll just go for it. And Jeffrey Rye comes up to me afterwards and goes, "You're the next Shane Donahue." And I said, What does that mean? I don't know. And he goes, "Oh, this is the guy who he announces at nationals. He's irritated like 90% of the crowd every time he talks." So I am really actually fairly excited to talk to you and hear what you've got going on. So that's really that was the introduction to talking with you. And you've got conecoach.com going on, which is your podcast, which is going on, which is awesome. So yeah, tell those who are listening who may not know you more about you.
So I got started as a cone dodger at 17, actually, after I flipped my first car. Managed to get away with lying to at least one parent through that whole process. Right. Still doesn't know, to my knowledge, that's how that car ended.
Nice.
Scared out of my mind driving. I was terrified of the road after that. So I wound up, I was surfing the Minnesota Sport Compacts, which was another vintage club or classic club back in the day. And I came across an autocross thing and I said, for $50 for a novice school, sure, let's give it a try. So I got to sign off and started running that. Absolutely destroyed a set of snow tires on my high-end Saturn SL2 at that point.
Ooh,
yeah,
fancy.
really 109 horsepower dual overhead cam Fury there.
Yeah, right.
I had the leather seats though.
Were you able to keep all the oil in the engine though? That was the big thing.
So that is actually how that car met its end.
Ooh, okay. Story time.
Shortly after that. So, car rookie, 17, 18.
Yeah, sure.
Ran and I got hooked on autocross. So I was just absolutely autocrossing. And I got better wheels and tires. They're terrible. I had 17s on a Saturn. It was awful. Hindsight is absolute 2020 in these sort of things. I had 17s. Yep. I had a red Sparco seat.
Ooh, yeah. You're balling there.
Oh, God, it was awful. I so regret this.
Did you throw some conies on there just to round it out?
They didn't make them for the Saturn.
Oh, they didn't make
So I had to go to the next best thing, which was the KYB non-adjustables. Because
well, yeah, of course they're not.
Saturn.
Right, because it's a Saturn. Who races a Saturn?
Right. But that's the thing is there was actually a group of people who were racing Saturns at that point. So there's a very small company that made Saturn performance parts, or at least encouraged other companies to do so. So I did box springs. They did have a sway bar option. So I was getting somewhere.
Yeah, right.
So like third season in the car, like I was going to make a full run at it. STS was a thing at this point. I was going to run up against the Hondas. This was going to be great fun. Like second event out the gate of the season, pop the motor.
Oh,
and I've always been pretty religious about topping it up and things like that. But I talked to a couple of guys and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's a Saturn. So were you running like a quart high then? Like you should?" I'm like, I didn't get that memo.
Yeah,
no one filled me in on that one. So
yeah. I more than one or two of those came into the shop I used to work at that had some oil issues. Yeah,
Yeah,
we learned that one pretty quick too.
just a few.
Just a smidge.
Now,
Yeah.
that is a car I actually bought twice.
Okay.
So I bought that car, blew it up, sold it as basically a parts car to a dude in Minnesota, who's also Minnesota, who ran. He was big into turbo Saturns, actually. So he
Oh,
was
okay.
just like,
Yeah.
I have a total shitbox Saturn, but I have a great motor. So he bought my car, which was in great shape, put the motor into it, and ran it for whatever. And then like 3 years later, I'm like, been running my Subaru. I'm sick of converting it back and forth for the winter time. It's time to go buy a beater and do the proper Minnesota sports car thing.
Right.
And
Do some ice racing.
yeah, so I pop up. I'm like, I'm looking for a beater. I got like $1,500, whatever. And he pops up. And he's like, you want your Saturn back? And I'm like, is it still turboed? And he's like, no, I got rid of that bit, but
That's too bad.
it runs good right now. It's all stock. And I'm like, sure, why not? So I bought it back, drove it for a couple of years, broke my head on the headliner, just shattered some parts in it. It was just worn out by the time I was done with it. And when it started to limp along, engine problems again, I go, I'm so done with this car. I never want to see it again. So I sold it to a guy cheap.
Yep.
And I said, you have to tow it away, but I'm going to let you know. I have one rule if I'm going to sell it to you at this price. He goes, what's that? I go, you could never, ever sell me this car back.
No round threes.
No round three. I don't want to see this ever again because I could like lemons and stuff and chump was starting a couple of years later. I was like, having that Saturn back might not be. Nope. Not gonna fall for that shit again. So.
Yeah, yes. A Saturn Lemons car would be a hell of a good time to see.
They were light as hell, man. They had no weight to them, and plus, you just bounce off the other guy because they're plastic. You're like, oh, that wasn't me. No cut. Look, fender's still intact. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. So you're doing the cone coach thing, and you were big in Minnesota for a while. And so what you moved? Why? How come?
So I've been in Minnesota my entire life, and about a year and a half ago, I got a call from a company out here, tech company, that says, hey, we saw you on LinkedIn, all that sort of stuff. Wondering if you're interested in relocating out here and warming up and stuff. And that was a day that we had gotten 11 inches of snow, I think. So I'm sitting in my car having an interview out in the parking lot, like buried up to my knees practically. And I'm just like, I think I'm done with shoveling. This is a really good time to try to proposition somebody. So
I don't blame you. I got stuck one too many times, and the wife gave me the green light to go buy a 4-wheel drive truck. So we rolled up to the dealership, and my 2-wheel drive 200,000 mile Saturn, and saw this one of the leftovers from last year, and it was marked down considerably, and we purchased it, and I have a friend who is in the know in these sorts of things in dealerships, and he comes to me and he goes, Eric, would you like to know how much the dealership made off of you? I said, as a matter of fact, I would. And he goes, they made negative $22 off of your deal. They were willing to make a deal just to move a unit. So
that's perfect. That's beautiful. So.
Yeah. So one of the questions I did have for you though is, when I was talking to the Mac guys, and which, by the way, anybody in Minnesota who is listening to this, the Mac guys run a very tight ship. From what I'm understanding in other states, it's not as good as ours, because when I talk about my autocrossing experience, it's been pretty good. It's been organized. They're on time. They're very efficient. They run through cars. They're safe, which is a big deal. And so when I talk about autocross, I'm like, oh yeah, it's great. And I'm talking to people from Texas and all these other states, and they're going, we have no idea what you're talking about. Ours is a complete cluster.
Yeah.
And so, shout out to those guys who do well.
So this is what you get when you have like 6 months off a year. Like Mac doesn't stop like doing like community meetings and planning and stuff all winter. So, because I was actually secretary, chief of timing, and a member at large for like a decade combined or something like that for Mac. So when they're not running, they're constantly trying to optimize stuff and work around things. So you get all these clubs that run like 12 months a year, and they're like, I don't want to see you again for another month, and they disappear or
Mm,
whatever.
sure.
Mac is just out there just constantly optimizing, and it shows in their logistics.
Oh
But
yeah.
there are a lot of people who like to complain about Mac too, because they're like, it's so serious, blah, 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 serious business. I'm like, it's as serious as you want to take it.
Yeah.
Relax, you know?
And in my experience, yeah, they are serious, but I would, when you're running your car and you're beating on it and giving it a hard time and really going for competitive times, we got some pretty competitive guys
Yep.
who run in our event, and like you said, we've got 6 months off to just sit and stew and think about it. uh I appreciate the professionalism in which they, they have a good time and they
Yeah.
enjoy it. But they don't muck about. You start drifting or doing anything stupid, you're out. Like, no, 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 no. We don't mess around here. And their big thing is, we've never had an insurance claim in 50 years. And
Mhm.
and I was trying to explain to somebody how our group has never had any big accidents. I mean, I've seen a guy muck into a cone pretty hard.
Yeah.
I've seen a guy go off course. I've seen myself go off course once or twice, and I obliterated one of the timing cones or the timing
Yeah.
stands, and I had to pay for that. That was pretty rough. But
I instituted that policy, by the way. So there you go.
were you there? Were you there at DCTC when I was running my blue Camaro, and I obliterated, like, it was like 10 feet off into the grass, and I spun coming out of a turn, and I had an instructor with me, and it just exploded.
I think I remember that one because I don't think I was timing chief at that point, but I think I do recall helping said timing chief do a little bit of emergency recovery after a certain vehicle punted the timing light rather hard. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I got a talking to about that
Mhm.
one, and thankfully, this is another thing I like about the group is if you appear genuinely sorry,
Yep.
and you were not mucking about, and I also had a instructor with me because it's good ballast, right?
Yep.
And the instructor vouched for me and said, "Look, Eric wasn't screwing around. He just got off into the marbles and just kind of
Yep.
went around." So they didn't really yell at me too badly, but I still had to pay the fine.
Right.
But
And that's just because those timing lights were so sensitive that the
yeah,
moment they got hit, their reliability went out the window. So we basically had to replace them anytime they got touched. So
yeah, and it wasn't too expensive. I think they charged me $100, but I mean,
yeah.
it was an expensive weekend, but and more to my pride more than anything, because DCTC, the slopes a little bit into the grass,
Yep.
so it's more my pride getting hurt than
Oh,
anything else.
I've had many of pride injuring moments around DCTC in my time, so I can vouch for that one.
So how did you? Like I said, they came to me and said, "Oh my God, you're the next Shane." How did you kind of fall into that?
So like a few years in, no one was announcing. Like you were saying, no one was ever
Still,
announcing.
nobody does. Nobody likes doing it, and frankly,
Right.
nobody does a very good job.
And I don't like. I'm just like I'm weird. Like I'm socially inept. You put me in a room with like 50 people, and I'm be like, you give me a microphone, and I will make a doof of myself like all day long because I just
Oh
don't
yeah, of
care. So
course.
like, I had downtime as the timing chief. So,
Mhm.
because I wasn't the one actually running the timing computers in any session, I just had to be available to fix shit. And coincidentally, the timing trailer was usually right next to the announce trailer. And I usually had to babysit and set up the announcer stuff. So when I had downtime, I just grab the mic and start futzing around. And
Sure.
basically, no one was going to tell me to stop because no one else is going to step up and actually do it. So they're like, well, it's better than nothing at this point. And especially 8, 10 years ago when we didn't have live timing, it wasn't a thing. So the only times you were going to get or hear were either at the printouts at the end of the run set or the guy announcing. So it was an incredibly valuable resource to have, especially if you were in contention. Um, so I just started doing it and goofing off. And then what kind of triggered a little bit more goofing off was how I would deal with workers that didn't show up.
Oh yeah.
So when
Yep.
workers wouldn't show up, I would start to just mock and ridicule them because everybody knows everybody in the club. So I would be like, stupid Miata drivers again, or like, I know you're pretty slow, but you think you could hurry up to the trailer and stuff like that, and just ribbing them on totally inconsequential things that were just stupid. But I was just having a good time with it, and so did this, really enjoyed it. Started doing a little bit of a podcast thing before Cone Coach, a little bit more of a tech podcast with some friends, just hanging out.
Yeah.
And then I wound up in Milwaukee a couple of years back, and they're like, we needed an announcer. And I'm like, I'll do it. Screw it. I don't know half the people down here, but I'll do it. And so do Milwaukee and start plugging and doing my kind of thing. And they're, they have sponsors. So I plugged those and I got all that sort of stuff out of the way. And I got the next guy comes up, and it's Sam Karp. And Sam Karp at that point was unbeknownst to me, is the national announce chief for all of the SCCA solo national events, so pro tours and all that sort of stuff. Okay. And he's like, what do you think? Think Shane's nationals quality? And a bunch of people were clapping like, yeah, he's got it. And so I wound up in the announced trailers at Nats doing assist stuff for a little while. So I was able to help out and do time check stuff. And he's like, you're reliable and you're shit. So why don't you want to step up and do it? And I said, yeah. And that was like the most nervous I had ever been, because this is like people actually listening to you instead of like shouting out into the crowd.
That's so true.
Yeah. So I was a little psyched out, especially because there's a caliber difference that they're kind of like, oh, you're supposed to kind of know these people or what they've been doing.
Oh, sure. Yep.
Like literally before nationals announcing, I will go and do hours of research. Just like, even if I'm terrible and like I don't have all the good details, I don't know everybody competing, I'll at least try to get in and be like, this is their 7th trip to Nats, and they're, this is the first time they're running a rear-wheel drive car, or like basic information stuff that I can put together. Just helps fill gaps and stuff. But that takes hours and hours of research work, even if we've got tools to help us through the SCCA. So,
well, I think that's pretty, kick ass in my opinion, that you got invited to do that. And when people started comparing me to you, and I'm kind of, I kind of did a little digging a little bit and started asking around, and they're like, oh yeah, you've totally got a Shane flavor, because I used to do the exact same thing. When workers would not show up, I wouldn't call them out by name, but I would threaten to. And I would threaten them and say, look, I've got your name and info here. I will say your name out loud until you get to your spot. And everybody will know it's you, and it will be really, really embarrassing.
Oh, yeah.
And it was funny. And I started getting to the point where I just started making fun of the cars. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if at the time there's a Boxster running around with like these brown wheels. Still to this day, I called them. I used to make fun of, just the cars themselves. Don't call it, it's chocolate, not poop brown, and that's how I would announce it. I wouldn't even announce its number or anything, and just be goofy as hell. And it's just a really good time.
Yeah.
And then, people would come up and be like, oh yeah, this guy, say this about him, it'll really get him good, that sort of thing. Yep. And the time goes by so fast. So, and the best part is, nobody signs up for it, like you say. So I could be an hour late to tech and an hour late for job duty, and I still get the job I wanted.
And you get to kick back in the shade on a covered vehicle usually, so you're not getting rained on if it's wet or something like that. And at worst, you're functionally reading times. At best, you can be a really fun hype man. So it's really fun, like trying to keep track of higher end competitions and stuff. Like when pro class, I loved announcing for pro class because those guys are always heated, and those are always really back and forth battles of like position changing and stuff like that. So you could get really amped when somebody crosses the line. So the hardest part of that whole thing is announcing for like the first runs, because they're boring. There's nothing going on. There's just like, okay, there's a time, and maybe a position moves or something, but it's never like that energy you have when you're taking last runs or something. And I love that part. Like I almost passed out my first time announcing.
Oh, you run out of breath or something?
I ran out of breath. Yeah. At nationals. So was running out of breath. And to make it worse, we had the longest 6th heat in history because it rained. And they decided to hold the whole heat for 2 hours.
Okay.
So me and 2 other announcers are in the announce vehicle vamping for 2 hours, trying. They're like, no, it's gonna be like 20 minutes when we get going. Like, just keep them on. Like, no,
Oh,
2 hours, 2.5 hours.
oh, that's rough.
And then we had to do the whole heat, which was another 2. So I am permanently in that club because they're like, you got that done, you're gonna survive. So.
So do you still get invited back?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be doing it again this year. So
Excellent. Do they you have to pay your own way, or do they chip in for you?
you do have to pay your own way. It's a little bit of a give and take sort of thing. Like I said, there's a bunch of research hours you have to put in, but the other side of it is I'm not shagging cones on like 10 acres of concrete in the middle of or like end of August sun.
Ooh, yeah.
So I get an air conditioned vehicle that I get to chill in, but I do have to work 2 heats. So it's a lot of like give and take sort of stuff. But yeah, you do have to. SCCA is not covering the announce crew or anything specially, so it's all volunteer. So.
Well, that is pretty. It's still pretty cool to be able to announce at nationals because you have to have a certain presence and a certain kind of quickness about you because the runs do happen quickly and they do. Guys cycle through and times come up a lot of times. So and to be original enough to come up with enough material. And I don't know if you've ever seen like when they do a football game or a baseball game and they look at the announcer's booth, they've in front of them have dozens of little tiny notes everywhere just on the research that you talked about. So yeah, I mean, kind of what you're doing is, you're just not getting, paid for it.
Yep. I come at it with a spreadsheet. I jot all my notes by car number and driver name and stuff so I can reference it real quick. And I try to get through grid ahead of time because it sucks to have your name mispronounced. So I try to find anybody that I'm not clear on and get that filled out. So, there's a lot to it if you're really taking it seriously as an effort on that scale to be met with a terrible Ustream stream that like practically no one's going to listen to on the internet. But, people there appreciate it. So it's fun.
Yeah, and I think you got to keep it lively enough. A lot of people came up to me and said, at least you're not boring.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of people just get up there and go, all right, 32.9, 33.4. Like they just, like they don't put any flavor into it. And half of it was just because I'm bored sitting in the truck.
Yeah.
And I got nothing else to do. So why not, do that? And what's funny is, so the last event that I went to, it snowed. And I don't know if you saw the photos online that I posted. It was it was legit snow. It was not a flake or two.
I was getting a ton of crap because I was at a San Diego event the same day.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, it's beautiful weather and sunny. Ha!
Yeah, thanks, jerk. Anyway, and it was snowing, and I had to drive my rear-wheel drive Corvette, which was a lot of fun, by the way. All I had to do was lay down a time, and my class was 1. That's all I had to do. Just a clean line. It didn't matter if I won or lost times. But we had a food truck, which is pretty rare. And what was funny is I was making jokes about, if people bring me a hot chocolate, I wouldn't be mad. Sure enough, here you go. And I'm like, ooh, and I'm narrating as I'm doing it. Like, okay, I've got both hands on the cup. I'm going to take a sip. Ooh, I'm going to shimmy my shoulders. This is great stuff. And, and people are having a great time with it. And the food truck comes back and hands me like this huge overflowing, like liquid hot magma of donuts, of mini donuts.
Nice.
Right. And I said, what's this? And they said, oh, we just think you're doing a great job. So, and we can hear you because the speaker's like blasting right at us.
Yeah.
And you're keeping us entertained during the crappy snow when nobody's buying from us. So here, we just appreciate what you're doing.
See, I'm jelly. I haven't gotten dropped sponsorship gigs yet at an autocross. I'm trying real hard. I want some of that tire rack money when I'm making those plugs real nice.
Yeah, right. And there's nothing wrong with I'm not beyond begging.
Right? No, absolutely not.
No, of course not.
Hey, Bridgestone guy.
Yeah, right. Hey, what do you got? Some coolant? Hey, I'll take some coolant. What do you brake fluid? All right, come on over. So is that the car you're currently running? That BMW behind you?
Yes. So this is my E92 M3.
Okay.
I bought this.
Very cool.
I'm gonna get some flack. It's a DCT, but I have reasoning behind that, and I think you're okay with that. I think I watched the video where you're like, okay, but I had to get down. I'm living in an apartment in LA out here, Shop
Ooh.
space, garage, not a thing. So I have to deal with certain limitations. So I said, okay, I have to get back into a street vehicle. But
Yep.
my requirements are it's got to be rear-wheel drive, and it's got to not totally suck if I have to sit in LA traffic. So it's like, okay, well, then it's got to have a DCT in some fashion. So I'm
Sure.
looking at DCT vehicles, and about the only thing that I could find that's competitive in autocross nationally is in my price range and is a solid, fun car to drive is this E92 M3. So I'm like, okay, well, that's the winner. I'm going to have to go find an E92 M3, do some shopping, find the like almost the right package. It's got a couple of options that I would dismiss if I, really wanted to get the weight down, but I'm like, it's kind of a daily driver. So I'll deal with a couple of things. Found the right package, car's over in Phoenix, go to pick it up. When I'm leaving the dealership, I go to pair my phone to it.
Okay.
And it turns out that it's actually, I'm looking at the phone list and Jason Bucky is on the phone list. For those that don't know, Jason Bucky used to autocross in Minnesota before he moved to
Oh.
Phoenix and bought an E92 M3.
Nice.
I have just bought his old car at a dealership. So I literally didn't say a word. I just took a picture of the dash and I sent it to him in Facebook. And he's like, so you're test driving an E92 M3, are you? I'm like, a little past test driving at this point. So
Yeah. It's this weird kind of like, you never notice that Minnesotans love talking about other Minnesotans?
oh yeah.
Yeah, and if you watch the news or anything like that, it could be a horrible plane crash over in like the Middle East, and they're like, oh, no Minnesotans were on that plane, so don't worry. Like yeah, like tons of people just didn't die or something, I mean. But that's how kind of Minnesotans are, and it's funny. It's
Yeah.
almost incestuous in that way, but
Don't
yeah,
worry, none of us are harmed.
right,
Everybody, yeah. But the other fun thing is I found over the years of working with podcasts and stuff is that people really enjoy a little shout out, and
yeah, of
it's
course.
it doesn't hurt anybody to drop a name here and there and stuff, and so I like to tell the story as it was. So
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not a knock, by the way. I just it's a
yeah,
kind of weird happenstance with Minnesota folks. So, and you're running this, which I missed it when you moved your head. What class are you running in? Oh, FS. Okay.
so that's F Street.
Okay.
So it's the same make model car effectively as the current champion of F Street, Jeff Cashmore,
Okay.
which he's out of Wisconsin. And in fun story, he hit me up back in like May, I want to say. He says, hey, I'm coming into California with my wife and we're, on a little vacation, wondering if you wouldn't mind co-driving, letting us drive your car at the event. And I'm like, absolutely not. I want that data. You're welcome. You and Denise are 100% welcome.
Plug in that data logger USB into the OBD2 port.
And that was the event my data logger wasn't working for.
Oh
So,
no.
but I did learn some stuff. We had a good time with it, back and forth. Did some fun runs. He did some coaching. It was a good time. He emailed me about a month or two ago, and he's like, hey, that was a lot of fun co-driving. Do you want to co-drive with me at Nationals? Because it would be way more convenient to not drive 3 days each way to get to Lincoln, Nebraska for Nationals. So I said, yes. So I'm pumped. I get to drive the national champion's car at the national championships together with him and his data and all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to be a very exciting event this year.
Oh, that's coming up soon.
Yep.
Okay.
2.5 weeks coming up here.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of took a little break from the autocross thing. It was getting a little, keeping up with the Joneses sort of thing, where everybody's starting to it's kind of an arms race, and and in the beginning everything's kind of kosher and cool, and everybody's kind of brings out their stock stuff, and then it's a one-upsmanship, and then before you know it, you've got gutted race cars, and it's like oh, I can't compete with that.
The autocross rulebook is such a tricky creature because you have street class, which is like basically my car has wheels and tires, a front sway bar, and a catback exhaust, and that's it. Like done, car done. No more messing with it. Just car done. And then you like move up to the next class. It's like, okay, now I'm buying triple adjustable Penske's, and I'm gonna go ahead and custom fabricate an exhaust system so the catalytic converter is in just the right place. And yeah, it's such a slippery slope. But you have to always think of rules wise what the worst possible scenario is for anything, and that's kind of the difficulty with autocross. So, but that's really why I was really enjoying sticking with F Street, because I just drive the car. It's like done. I drive it to the event. I change tire pressure, run the event, done, and it's still a national caliber vehicle, and it's ready to go. So,
and that's one of the things I like about autocross, and I try to impart upon people. I really try to get people involved into it because I think it's a really cheap way to get into racing, and you don't need a fancy car, and you really don't even need a fast car that for that matter. You just need a car that you enjoy having a good time in. The kind of so I think you could do a little bit of both though. You can get into those stock classes where you get safety stuff, like if you want to put a cage in it, like nobody's going to stop you.
Yep.
You know, if you put a race seat in it and a bunch of other stuff, nobody's going to stop you. But when those stock classes, when you start removing interior pieces, when you start doing a lot of those really obvious weight saving things, then no, you're going to get a challenge there. So I think, you know, you have the opportunity to run car versus car, you know, equal as you can be, as opposed to who's got the most money and who can figure out all the little tricks. But if you like that sort of thing, there are classes for you in that. You know, especially TTU, I think, is that the unlimited class? Remind me.
So that's an unlimited road racing class. There's like prepared or modified, like high end stuff is where it gets absolutely ridiculous. Like we're talking single piece carbon fiber front end to a Bug-Eye Sprite to house a tri-rotor engine that God never intended that to wind up in that combination. But it's insanely fast. It's amazing to watch. But yeah, there's classes for everything to try to kind of keep it competitive. If you really want to be competitive, you have to kind of keep to the rule book a little bit. But in the end, it's time. So just come out and run a time, because unlike road racing, it's not about who crosses the line first. It's just who can set the fastest time. And this is the only motorsport that I'm aware of on the planet where you can go 10 tenths every run, and by design, it's a safe course. You can spin out. You're going to be fine.
Right.
Whereas, you know, wheel to wheel or each HPDE stuff, it's like if I go 10 tenths, I could stuff it into that tree.
Right.
You know, I'm a little bit
wall or
exactly. Yeah. So I can spin off safely and be like, well, that was where that level of grip was, and move on with life.
Yeah, and that's why I encourage people, because a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to mess up my car or anything. Like, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to hit a cone. And so I don't know if you saw, but I think I hit a cone at full throttle, second gear, about damn near wound it out. So I had to be doing 60 some odd miles an hour, and I hit a cone head on.
Oh yeah,
obliterated the carbon fiber front splitter that I had on my Corvette, which from the factory they wanted $1,100. I said no, thank you, and I went and bought an aftermarket one for $150 and call it good. Nobody knows the difference,
right? But until now,
that's the worst that's going to happen. Honestly, that's the worst that's going to happen.
Yeah.
To somebody, if you know. But and the thing I like about the autocross is the more you do it, the more you get experience. It's seat time, and it's cheap seat time, and it's relatively safe. And I've seen guys in some really stock cars that have very little modifications rip off some really fast times just because they know the car that well. And when people ask me, you know, oh, what should I buy for my car? Because you can always spot the newbie, right? The big N, the big N on the side of the car. And they're the ones bouncing up and down going, okay, I'm going to get some shocks. I'm going to get some tires. I'm going to get this. I'm going to get that. And I'm going, no. Stop, save your money, and just do this a full season, maybe 2 seasons. And don't do, maybe tires, because you're going to need some tires. Fine, I'll give you tires.
Yep.
I'll give you tires. And anything that's broken or safety things, brakes, that sort of thing. But for the most part, just learn the car. And that was, for me, one of the hardest parts, because I wanted to go out and I was excited. The same thing happened to me. And I was like, I'm going to tell you from experience, the fastest driver doesn't always have the fastest car.
100%. Yeah. Or what you would think is the fastest car.
Yeah.
Because it's
paper.
I mean, 95% of the time, I you know, because I instructed for Mac too over the years. And it's, you know, you get the guy who shows up, he's like, I got a 450 horsepower Evo and it's got full race suspension and it's going to be the fastest thing out here. And I'm like, that instructor right over there with the stock Miata is 2 seconds faster. So
yeah, on a 45-second course.
Right. And 90% of the time, that guy just doesn't come back. He's shamed to the point. But the ones who have, you know, a good like self-awareness and they're not taking it too seriously, or if they are taking it seriously and they want to learn, are the ones that come back like that. Because the ones who are just out there to be the king of the streets are they don't survive. It's just it's not a sport that supports non-humility. I will say you have to be, you know, you have to admit that it's your driving that does it. But this is also why I'm really loving street class is in a stock car like this. Like I said, there's nothing to fiddle with. Like when I had an STU car, I had an STU 350Z. I had a, you know, that STS Saturn, which was there. I've built cars over the year, STX 3 WRX. I was always changing something, trying to make it faster. And when the limits of street class are just like, you just can't do anything. Like once the alignment's there, it's just not going to get any better because that's the best you can get out of a BMW. Just that's it under the rules. Right. So then it's all about focusing on your driving. And I've found myself in the last year with this car getting noticeably faster than I was in previous years messing with my ST cars ever. So yeah, like get a basic car and just stick with it, man. You're going to learn so much more. Like Jeff Rye ran a Corolla. And he is like one of the top 10 in the Mac club right now, speed wise. Like he just got started in Corolla and he just ran that thing until the wheels fall off, and then he bought a Miata, and he was like way faster. So
did you ever see that I posted on Facebook when the Mac guys went out to go-karts?
Yeah.
And did you see the post I made?
I don't think I saw the post, but I can imagine how this went. Yeah.
Okay. Here's this. I got to show you this first.
Okay.
I've got it right here in my office. I'm so proud of this. You have no idea. Mac first place at the go-kart deal, okay?
I never got one of those. That's
did you get first place at Pro Kart? No.
Nope. That's okay. I'm bowing right there. In fairness, I had a weight handicap quite a few times when I was.
Oh, did you? Okay. Well, we did handicap with weight. And I think we handicapped at like 210 or something.
I was for most of my Mac career, I was 300 plus. So,
okay. Well,
yeah, I was past handicap capability. So.
Fair enough.
But you could not get by me unless I let you by me, because there was no amount of mass you were going to be able to use to push my ass out of the way. I held off the entire field for 28 laps on a final event.
Oh, you're that guy.
Any means necessary, baby.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize. So this is real champagne, by the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah, no, it's real. I don't know if you can hear that.
Yeah,
it's a real bottle. But so here's what happened. So I got to tell on myself a little bit. I thought I was a pretty okay driver, but I was really nervous going into this because every time I'd gone to race go-karts or anything, I thought, I'm okay. I'm competitive. I'm never the fastest guy, but I'm also never the slowest guy. Mm-hmm. Until I run with the Mac guys, and I am. They didn't say who the bottom third was, but I'm pretty sure I was damn near the bottom. And noticing that guys are significantly faster. And this is, I don't know if you remember the Pro Kart course, but it's a 22-second deal. It's not very long. And I'm a full second behind basically the whole field. Mm-hmm. And I have Jeff Rye. So speaking of Jeff Rye, the one who says I'm the new you, gets on my team. He's the fastest guy of the whole group, and he's been, this is his league. He's been doing this forever. And of course, everybody else there, you don't show up to a Mac go-kart event if you don't know what the hell you're doing. And I didn't, and I was the idiot who's just like, oh, good, go-karts, fun, and not knowing what I'm getting myself into when everybody shows with their own helmets, and I'm going, oh crap. So they take the top guy and the slowest guy, and they put us together. Okay. And they paired us with somebody else. I can't remember his name. And I'm thinking, I'm going to embarrass flipping everybody. Right. And it's like a 45-minute heat. So, we're running full 45 minutes. And so, but Jeff, though, in his infinite patience, because he recognizes the idiot here behind the wheel, I can drive a Corvette, but a go-kart, not so much. He goes, okay, Eric, I'm going to show you the correct way around this track. I come here every week for league for like 2 years, and here's how you do it. And I don't know if you were there, but they put up a giant, like 80-inch screen to show your times as you're going by. And if you're quick enough, you can see it. You can see the time. And I just on his advice, we talked for a good 20 minutes. Just on his advice alone, I dropped 0.8. So now
you're in the heat.
Now I'm in it, right? And I know what I'm doing, and I finally figured out the track, and now I'm in it. And I didn't get passed, and I didn't pass anybody. I was just kind of like dead even. And so Jeff decides to run the last one, and he damn near laps the field. He's that fast.
Yeah.
And he ran the last 20 laps, and we got first place. And I've never gotten first at an autocross, or at a go-kart enduro before. So this is prominently up here with all my other accolades.
Yep. It's like graduate, like degree, etc. Like crappy bottle of champagne that's covered in weird foil that says first place at Mac Go-karting. It's like, you don't understand, man, how important this one is.
Yeah, this little cheap little paper sticker. Yeah.
Yep. I think I got like one race where I ever won during the Mac League. So like this is, again, like for those of you who are not cold weather people, Minnesota is a frozen hell for 6 months of the year. So what do motorsport people do for frozen hell is they either go ice racing or they go indoor go-karting, just like as a like serious business.
Lots of leagues. It is busy leagues. They're full up at this point.
Yeah. So literally for years, every Tuesday night, I think I would drive all the way down to Burnsville from Minneapolis and run a league with them. And it's great fun. It's good to practice and keep skills sharp and stuff like that, but it keeps you moving and stuff. So, but yeah, there's definitely the dudes there that have been running that longer than I have. And the ones that are in better shape would definitely have a little bit of a run on the old straights there than I would ever get. So,
well, it's funny because Jeff's he's a shorter, he's spry guy. He's very fit, very sinewy, I think is a good word. And you should have seen him with like all his weights as he was running out. He's got like he had like 50 pounds of weights and his arms are straining, and I'm just like, I only have this little 5-pounder.
Jeff's in like great shape. He's a cyclist, but think of like Michael Schumacher if he was like a twig. Is basically like Jeff. So
and I'll be honest, I have yet to meet somebody who is more willing to help than Jeff. He's been designing a lot of courses lately too for the Mac events, and he'll come up to guys and go like, "Hey, what do you think of the nice? By the way, that's cool." That's not your wild?
Oh, no. I switched back to the
okay, got you
there. So yeah.
Okay, I thought you were.
I'm not taking it straight from the head. I can if we want to go that way with this podcast, but
well, okay, fair enough. Well, maybe we'll do a part 2. And
I'm trying to keep it balanced here. We might spin inward at that point. So
fair. Well, it might get real interesting. You never know. Yeah, but my experience is he'll come up to people during the event or before the event and go like, "Okay, guys, so here's the thing," and they'll do the course walk. And I always made sure to do the course walk with him. Mm-hmm. Because he would be like, all right, so here's what I'm thinking. I want guys to go around here, and I want guys to, hit the switchback on this side and backside that side. And by the time you get to the course, you walk it 2 or 3 times, and you've got inside knowledge from the guy who designed it. Yeah, I'm a half a second faster than everybody at least on the first run. Yep. So
I don't do it very often, but at least 1 year at Nationals. So during Nationals, it's such a big event that they actually have a period of time where you course walk over lunch. They open the course back up for lunch. Okay. So you can go eat or try to get a course walk in. And a couple of times I've overheard some of the faster drivers that have driven in the morning that were like giving insights of like, it looked like this, but it actually drove like this. And I'm just like, go on. Like, just walk a little closer to that person maybe than others. So,
eavesdrop a little bit.
Just a little bit. So
I'm very sneaky.
Yes. I'm just walking behind him with a notepad, like, no, what was that again? Late Apex, this one, you say? Okay, yeah, I'll keep that in mind.
So are you joining? You're in the autocross down in LA, right? They've got a
Yeah.
chapter down there.
Yep. So I'm, as part of running nationals regularly and stuff, I'm a member of the SCCA. And the SCCA has a chapter down here, which is called Cal Club Autocross. So what's amazing is I think this is actually where it like got started, was down in this area.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Yeah, because they actually hold the domain solo2.com. So
Oh,
they've got to be pretty early in the whole either computerization of it or just straight up the sport as it begins with. So, but yeah, they're a great group of people. I encourage everybody because, like I said, you have to have some humility to run this motorsport for any period of time, just because you're
yeah,
going
that's
to
true.
you're going to take a beating from cars that seem lesser than what you're driving at any one
Hmm.
point, or so byproduct of that, anybody who's seriously in it for any period of time are usually the nicest, most humble people you'll ever meet. Like, take Minnesota nice and like crank it up to 10. Like, that's Jeff Rye and half the guys at Mac and stuff. And
Dave Ball, yeah.
yep,
Big
yep,
guy's been there
exactly.
forever, you know.
Right.
And Dave has taken me more trips in his cars just to show me the course. And of course,
Yeah.
every turn his car is 45 degrees the wrong way, but
Right.
with the ass end hanging out. But
He wants to show you the best angle of the
yeah,
course, or at least from your window. He wants to
right.
show you the course.
Exactly. He wants to point my door, the passenger door, at the
Right.
oncoming cone. Basically, is what
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
trying to do.
We might give Dave Ball a little bit more leeway than a few other drivers, just because he's Dave Ball. He's got a track record of doing this. So.
Yeah, he's more than once has kind of spun his especially his yellow Corvette around a few times,
Oh yeah, the
which
classic.
is great fun. I remember the first time I got a ride, and I'm kind of going, holy hell, Jesus! And he's just he's yelling. He's like, God damn, I missed it! Gosh, crap!
Yep.
He's just muscling the crap out of it.
Yep. Yep. And again, that's a totally stock car, basically, and
Yep.
he's just out there flicking it around and doesn't care. It's just a riot. So
Yeah, and I think you're right. And if those of you who are still listening at this point, hey, it is reality at this point, right?
right. Yep.
Still trying to build it at this point. The the humility that you get, like you said, I thought when I first started, I thought, okay, I've got a car that's got good suspension. I have played lots of Forza, and I can do this. I can do this. And I got humiliated. I got my ego smashed immediately by little Miatas, 90 horsepower, 105, whatever they are, little Miatas,
Yep.
because they just knew how to drive. And
Jeff was probably in one of them at that point.
probably. And I'm blanking on his name right now, but he Beard C5 Corvette Z06, really, really fast, bit of a bigger guy. Friends, he's been there for like 10 years, and he's really, really fast. Basically stock C5 FRC.
Yeah. I can't place it.
I can't think of his name.
Yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
I've got not four, maybe 300 horsepower on him.
Mm-hmm.
And like a 5-year newer car.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I he still gets me every once in a while because of how good of a driver he is. And I encourage people, please go to autocross. Please do it. It's safe. It's cheap. It's easy. It's easy to get into. People are really nice and really helpful in my experience. Take an instructor because it's free, but you get what you pay for. And nobody takes it super seriously. If you mess up, no big deal. As long as you didn't hurt anybody or do anything wildly stupid, if you come from a place of humility and say, look, I'm just learning, I'm trying, and check your ego as soon as you hit that parking lot in the morning and realize that you ain't going to be the fastest, and it's going to be a long time before you are, and get the seat time, you just might be. But if you come in there with, I'm the best, and I got the fastest car here, you don't. You really don't.
I've literally watched licensed road racers like 15 years of experience out here, because this is the group we get out here in California too. It's like we get dudes with Porsche GT3 RSs that are full cage cars, and they're just going like they're a road racer. Like it's a built vehicle because California's crazy car culture, and he's just gonna run it. I have seen him like these types of vehicles like put down shaming times, like just disappointing. Like I'm outrunning him in a stock M3, and I'm just like, and I'm not that good. I'm 100% not that good. I have never trophied at nationals. Like in classes that are 40 deep, I have not gotten a trophy. So
still hard to do.
Right. Oh, absolutely. It's a solid challenge for sure. But it's like there is a little bit of a different mentality to it. But he's out here having the same kind of fun, just messing around with the rest of us. And like I said, there's nobody on course you have to worry about or beat. The worst case, you're going to spin off and you're going to red flag the next guy, and he's going to get another chance at it. He's probably going to thank you for getting another chance at it because he can run at the course. Like you don't get that all the time. So
exactly.
Right. So, and there are some people who take it super serious. I get it. I can be one of those at certain times of the day, but like I said, it's times. So take it as seriously as you want to.
And again, where else do you get to go as fast as you want legally and beat the crap out of your car without worry about getting in trouble or smashing your car? So,
yep.
I think,
one of my favorite, I ribbed a buddy, and he goes, I said, hey, do you want to come out to the autocross this weekend? It's going to be a good time. We're going to be at DCTC, standard sort of fare. And he's like, no, it's just that it's not that much seat time. And, for the money. And I'm like, well, it's like $35. So,
that's cheap.
Comparatively, it's pretty cheap for a day running. But I said, what other event is running this weekend that you're going to go do and get more seat time? He's like, well, there isn't anything. I'm like, so it's any seat time is better than zero seat time. It's a simple concept. Like
simple math. Yeah.
Right.
and I get the complaint from folks who say, oh, there's not enough seat time, and you do more shagging cones than anything else. But I really think those are the mismanaged ones, because you spend 8 hours there and you get 6 runs. At least we do.
Right.
I can't speak for the other autocrosses out in the country, but you're right. You're not going to get that type of experience. And what I have found is the autocross guys who've been autocrossing for a significant amount of time, it's easy for them to translate those skills to a bigger track than it is to take a big track guy like Road America, Brainerd, or Sonoma, whatever, pick one, and then put them down and scale it down to a small track. It doesn't translate the same way. You can't scale down. You know what I mean? Things happen too quick for them to react.
So I have never fun one here. So I had always run on DCTC and autocross. That was as far as I ever got with big tracks. Or DCTC is not actually a racetrack for those that are not familiar with Dakota County Technical College. It is classified as a training center.
Right, for police and like long truckers and things like that, right?
It is not wider. It is probably 1.5 lanes wide for most of the area.
And it's not good pavement either.
No. But not by a long shot. So circumstances happened, and I wound up basically I'm going to go to Germany, and I'm of course going to run the Nürburgring there.
Of course,
and
as you do.
I'm pumped to this. So I did spend probably 20 hours behind my PlayStation getting an idea of, because I'm trying to memorize the course. It's freaking 26 miles. You got to, there's some effort here to try to remember this. It's not a 2-course walk sort of thing and go at it. So go to Germany, run the Nürburgring, and within 3 laps, I'm running sub 10 minutes.
Oh,
and
nice.
Passing Porsches in a Volkswagen Scirocco.
Scirocco.
And I'm just having a ball at this. So this is like I was super worried about it. I went out on my first lap. I'm scared as hell, and I'm shaking, and I go out and do it. And by the 3rd lap, I'm just like, yeah, I can flat it through there. That's not a big deal. Whatever, So it's 90 miles an hour instead of 60. Whatever. And just ripping through things and just having an absolute ball of it. So
did you get worried about insurance or anything on that, or because I heard they don't cover you?
Right. So that I actually rented that vehicle from one of the racetrack rental companies. So it had a half cage, and I love it because they're like, we're doing the intro stuff, and I see all the helmets on the wall, and they send us all out, and I'm like, "Are you gonna give us a helmet?" And they're like, "You don't legally need a helmet." I'm like, "I'm gonna take it. Can I have one of those helmets?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Well, yeah, but some people get confused." I'm like, "No, give me the helmet."
Yeah, no.
Like,
And maybe you're the same way I am, but like I put a race seat in my Corvette and a 5-point harness, and 6 point, and I feel faster with that. It's snug. I mean, tight as can be,
yep.
and almost to where you can't breathe a little bit. And I put the helmet on. I feel 120% more confident than if I've got the regular seat and no helmet. I mean, I'm like sliding around, and the times reflected it, because I went out and did a couple autocross events with no seat, just the regular seat and 3-point belt and a helmet, legal, of course. And I was significantly slower than I normally would be. There's something to say for confidence.
Right. So this is actually something we talked about on Cone Coach, plug insert here. That whole podcast is about trying to make you faster through various understanding, and it's about making faster as an educational tool. It's, we bullshit a little bit, but every episode is about trying to make you faster. And one of the episodes we talked about, we had probably a 90-minute chat on driver focus and driver confidence, and that the harnesses and stuff, while you probably staying in the seat and you're as safe, potentially less safe than running the stock 3-point in a otherwise unmolested car. Sure. It allows you you're not fighting your body as much.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So it lets you stay focused on more aspect and creates a more consistent input, because I'm not over here now and then over here now, and my inputs are changing. So I don't have one in the M3 currently. I am just dealing with the stock seatbelt, and I have a seat limit because of street class, but I do miss my harnesses just a little bit. But it's a challenge you get over after a little while, actually. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so that same guy we were talking about in the red C5 Z06 broke I think this is what he said. He broke the seat, the rear seat, so it doesn't recline anymore. And he broke the steering column, the up and down and tilt feature, because he was pulling on the steering wheel so much when he was turning that he was like, he'd over here, and then he'd yank on the wheel, and then he'd be over here, and he'd yank on the wheel. So, there is something to be said for just being held in place so tight.
A seat back broken in a C5 Corvette. This is absolutely unprecedented. Call GM. They've got to know about this. So.
Yeah, I'll put you in line with the other 600,000 guys with the right.
I'm sure they're going to get right on that.
Yeah. So you've got the Cone Coach thing. People know how to find you there. You essentially gave us a quick rundown. You're talking car stuff, but you're also talking about how to make folks faster. What all does it entail?
Just about everything we focus on is about making people faster. So we're trying to be an educational podcast. We found that there was kind of a soft spot in the motorsporty sort of autocrossy world of podcasts. Not that there's a ton of them, but there's Kintrail's Autocross Talk, and there's GRM's podcast, and SCCA tried one for a while. I don't know if they're doing that anymore. But basically it was all just kind of like talking cars and gossiping and blah, blah, blah about, what's the stupid rule change this week? And let's interview somebody and stuff. So about 90% of the episodes with Cone Coach are just me and Neil Thompson, who's now a national champion. He's like so many times second time finisher. Might as well be a national champion multiple times.
He's fast. Yeah.
Really fast.
Yep.
So we just kind of pick a topic and try to attack it. So we did 3 episodes where it was corner entry, mid corner, and corner exit, and talking about what that does to your suspension, what it does to your tires, how you can react to this, what you're trying to get out of the car, and what the responses are. So this is what, we're trying to focus on educational content with just having fun with it. It's very conversational and back and forth, shooting the bullshit, very much like this, where we'll tell an autocross story and have a good time with it. And then we'll dive into I think last episode was data logging and talking about what you should be spending your money on data logging wise.
Yep.
And what you should be looking at on that data logger. What's usable data versus, FLAC noise that is I don't need to know what my alternator output is on an autocrosser. I don't care, tell me about my G load and stuff. So that's kind of the focus of that effort. So
A little bit of everything. It sounds like you got the technical stuff, but you also throw in some humor and some good, storytelling with it too. So
exactly, me and Neil are very technical, dorky types. So we love to drill into what the suspension's doing and setup and stuff, and just weird feedback sort of stuff too. Like we got into and the birth of the discussion around like driver focus was actually based on the fact that Neil has started to go road racing with some of the chump car and champ car kind of guys. So he's like, man, 4 hours in a car is nothing like an autocross run. Let's talk about like what wears on you and how that impacts even at autocross level.
Stamina.
So like, right. Power steering. Everybody likes to take it out. I'm 100% proponent to leaving it in because it's faster inputs for the driver. It's less fighting. It's just one thing not to worry about. So, just one example of that sort of stuff. So, well,
geez, even running, it's a simple example of that power steering deal is go run a go-kart for more than 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Arms start to hurt.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I take Advil before I get in the go-kart these days.
Look like Popeye when you're done.
Yeah, really.
Well, the big forearms are just all swollen and everything. So,
Yep. Just absolutely shred. But yeah, so it's a fun thing we like to do. Our release schedule is terribly erratic on the basis of whenever I get to it sort of thing. But,
sounds like Gearheaddaily a little bit. Yeah. Well, hey man, I appreciate your time. This has been a lot of fun. We should do a part 2 to this. This has been a lot of fun. Everybody check out conecoach.com. Shane, I'm the new Shane, sorry. At least here locally. So I do appreciate your time. Thank you very much. It's been a blast. And I'm kind of bummed you moved and, we couldn't hang out and shred some tires here.
You're going to have to come out to the coast where it's warm all the time and visit. You can run the M3. We'll have a good time of it.
Ooh, co-drive. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. That's the other joy of autocross. You can drive other people's cars.
Yes, that's a great. Yeah, if we didn't mention that already, driving other people's cars it's. I love driving AMCs. Ain't my car. Ain't my cars.
Oh, okay. I'm like a pacer, really? Okay.
No, ain't my car, man. So.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, hey, man, thanks a lot. And we should do this again.
Anytime.